Hi, everybody. I'm Gloria Moraga. This is the Political Woman podcast. Not much going on in the political world. Just kind of lazing back. Not much to do. Oh my God. It is just as crazy can be. And we knew it was going to be like this. And it's worse than we anticipated. It is Tuesday, January 28th. I'm Gloria Moraga. You'll probably be seeing this on Wednesday, garbage night, January 29th. So who knows what the top story is going to be. Top story today, a Trump memo, a 2-page memo that halted federal funds. And people's hair caught on fire. Spontaneous combustion. Here's what Chuck Schumer had to say.
Last night, President Trump plunged the country into chaos without a shred of warning. The Trump administration announced a halt to virtually all federal funds across the country. In an instant, Donald Trump has shut off billions, perhaps trillions of dollars that directly support states, cities, towns, schools, hospitals, small businesses, and most of all, American families. This is a dagger at the heart of the average American family in red states, in blue states, in cities, in suburbs, in rural areas. It is just outrageous. Why? They need tax cuts for the ultra-wealthy, and these cuts, they think, will fund them. Every one of our offices has been deluged with calls from people who are in panic. What is this going to mean? And just like the January 6th pardons, this decision is lawless, dangerous, destructive, cruel. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional.
All right. Here's who would be and could be still affected. Hospitals, police, firefighters, senior centers, food pantries, children's breakfasts and lunch, old people, their Meals on Wheels, non-profits for disabled veterans, mass transit, on and on and on and on. Because of this, quote, cruel order from Donald Trump. Now, some of those nonprofits that would be hurt by this filed a lawsuit, and a Biden administration federal judge put a halt on Trump's memo. And here's the issue. That money has already been allocated. And if you follow the United States Constitution, which Donald Trump clearly likes to thwart or at least challenge, Congress has the power of the purse. And if Congress marks or earmarks money for programs, then that money should flow to the programs. But Trump wants to put a stop to it, even though Biden signed off on it. So that's what's at issue. And my first thought when it all started going down was something else is going to happen, because here's what you can already see, the writing on the wall. Here's the Donald Trump playbook. Do something like this and get everybody all up in arms. And then over here, do something else that's even worse. So, for instance, he says stuff about Greenland and he attacks Canada. But then over here, he's doing something quietly that has a deeper, more long-lasting effect. So it's important that we watch what's going on. And what's kind of startling to me is that the mainstream media seems to miss this whole fact. They seem to miss the important story. Like, for instance, and the Trump having a big fight with the president of Colombia. Now, Colombia is an ally, as is Mexico, as is Canada, as was Greenland. And the president of Colombia just asked the Trump administration to stop sending Colombian immigrants back to Colombia in military jets and scaring everybody and turning it into a big circus. And Trump said no. And if I do, if you make me do that, I'm going to slap tariffs on you. And then, according to the mainstream media, the president of Colombia backed down. He did not. He did not back down. He's still threatening to do it, and it's all kind of worked itself out because he said, well, I'll slap tariffs on you, and we get a lot of goods from there as well. Coffee? Anybody want some coffee? And other items that would be tariffed, that would be difficult for us to take. Coffee. So the mainstream media just keeps missing this stuff. Like, I really liked it today. The new Trump mouthpiece started today. Now, she's late. She should have started last week when the administration, was first in office. So, I don't know. She's a week late. But all the websites, all the news websites, Politico, The Hill, just on and on. Oh, how great she is and how she really, is very sharp. And no, she wasn't. No, she wasn't.
Thoughts on how we can address the egg shortage in this country. As for costs, I laid out the plethora of ways that President Trump has addressed saving costs for the American people over the past week. He looks forward to continuing doing that.
She didn't even have answers to some of the stuff that was going on with the websites being shut down, with healthcare websites being shut down. So there'll be more on this story. So I was going to spend more time on it, but since there's a halt to it right now, we'll just cover it as it comes. Meantime, deportations. Yeah, so they keep making a big deal about these deportations. And I pulled some video, and I got this from CBS. Here's some video of an ICE raid in New York. And look who's there. The puppy killer is actually on scene. Now, I guess this is right up her alley. If she killed the pet goat and the puppy. I guess, she's hoping she can be a quick draw. But here's what got me, and the reporter did ask about it later. There are a lot of people conducting these raids, a lot of federal agencies, and like these big planes that cost a fortune to run that are deporting these people. It's costing us a lot of money. And they only arrested like one dude. Now, he was a bad dude. But come on, man. Do we need all of this gun power to arrest one bad dude? I mean, he's bad. I'll give him that. But it's kind of overkill right now. So the Trump administration is doing this, and I guess what Trump wants is they want to deport 11 million people, which I'm reading Newsweek here now, and it says it would take, like 100 years. I mean, it would take a long time. I'm embellishing when I say 100 years, but it would take a long time. And Newsweek also mentions the airplanes and how much it's costing. And it's like not financially feasible to keep this up. Now, we could say that this is just a PR ploy, but it's not, because they're putting money in the budgets for more agents, but also the prisons. So I've mentioned this before, and it's a bigger story later, and I have pictures of the two companies that build private prisons and how much money these dudes are getting from the federal government because of the prisons that they're going to build out in the desert someplace. I don't know where. Maybe Wyoming. Who knows? I have a friend who lives in Wyoming. Who knows? I mean, they should build them closer to the border. But who knows where they build, where wannabe fascists build camps to put people in the camps. But know this. These prison builders are making a fortune. And their stock skyrocketed when the whole word came out that Trump won and that there's going to be all this money to build these prisons. He's trying to, it's a show, but, Biden carried out the highest level of deportations since 2014, according to a new report. And that was, I'm reading from Newsweek, and that's a quote. And this is from CNN. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement deported 271,484 immigrants last fiscal year, making the highest level of deportations since 2014, according to a newly released annual report. Donald Trump wants to own this, but right now, as much as you don't want to talk about it, Biden owns this. Biden is better at this than Trump. And he spent a lot less money. I won't read everything here. But I will say this. I live in California. I was I grew up around agriculture, and I covered agriculture when I became a young reporter. And this is from an opinion piece, quote, how Trump's deportation plans could blow up the food system and increase migrant labor. And then the next line is, instead of cutting back on undocumented immigrants, the new administration will be forced to provide more visas to keep food flowing to stores. So right now in California, down in the valley, in the San Joaquin Valley, which is where I'm from, I think down in Bakersfield area, the citrus harvest is going on. And, it gets cold. And if the harvest is halted or interrupted, the crop rots. It turns, freezes. I've been out there in the winter. Woof. Migrants aren't showing up for work because they're afraid. And, they're arguing about how many are not showing up and, that this is overblown. Bottom line, the farmers are saying they're not showing up. And so this means that at the grocery store, oranges, orange juice, those little cuties that we just love so much are going to cost a fortune, almost as much as eggs. And here's the other thing. We're doing all of this with cutting funds here and cutting funds there. What are they doing about food prices? And what are they doing about the bird flu to help us? Because eggs are impossible to buy right now. I love an omelet, but I'm just doing that. I'm not doing it. I have to have something else. And so will you, my friends. So CBS did this great report on farm workers and the challenges of farmers keeping business going. Here's a quick soundbite from a farmer from CBS, only because I love farmers so much.
A lot of hands to hand harvest fruits and vegetables.
This is a 24-hour job. So I need people who are willing to work in shifts at different times of the day.
There's no question in the United States we have a shrinking workforce. Anything that happens from a policy standpoint that reduces people in our workforce is going to make it very difficult for industry, and certainly for agriculture. We would be in big trouble if we lost workforce.
Now, according to statistics, more than 2/3 of U.S. crop workers are foreign born. And you know what this dude says? This is that Trump dude, Stephen Miller. I think he looks like an alien. I think he's got a pointy little head. And actually, every time I see him, he gives me the creeps. I kind of get a shudder. You know, he was interviewed by Tapper today, and I don't like CNN. I don't want to watch CNN anymore, but I was channel surfing because I was waiting to pick up my granddaughter at school, and I had my phone on and I was watching the news, Nicole Wallace, and that came past the Tapper interview with him, and he doesn't live in reality, because his whole take on farmers and what's going on and how much we need migrant workers, and we really do. It's a lifelong, all my life, and every administration I've covered know this, and farmers know this. And I don't know why they voted for Trump, but they did, to their own detriment, just like so many people. But he said, we'll get rid of these illegals, or whatever they call them, something demeaning, and then those jobs will go to Americans. And they'll be higher paying jobs, and there'll be better jobs for Americans to do. Americans don't want those jobs. They're hard jobs. He should go out and pick some fruit. It's like old age is not for sissies. This work is hard. It's hard. And Americans don't want this work. Ask the farmers. You don't have to ask me about it. So, according to this article, there are going to be more H-2A visas once they purge all of these workers that honestly come here to work in the harvest, and then they go home. And there's not overwhelmingly not criminals. They're not criminals. They're not from insane asylums. The only criminals that are out of prisons were the ones Donald Trump let out on January 6th. That's the truth. I saw that in a meme, and it was so funny. So that's some news of things that have been happening. A lot has been happening. And tomorrow, so Wednesday, I'm recording this Tuesday, we've got RFK in the hot seat. As Caroline Kennedy says, Bobby. Caroline Kennedy. Wow. Caroline Kennedy is, if we had royalty, would be our royalty. She would be our queen. Okay? I mean, we've got Beyonce, but it would also be Caroline Kennedy. She's private. She doesn't search for the spotlight. And she wrote a letter about her cousin, Bobby, to senators in charge of his confirmation hearings. And I'll just play a little bit of it. Here's a little bit of Caroline Kennedy on her cousin, Bobby Kennedy, whom Trump has nominated to be the head of our most critical and important Department of Health and Human Services. Here's Caroline.
But now that Bobby has been nominated by President Trump to be Secretary of Health and Human Services, a position that would put him in charge of the health of the American people, I feel an obligation to speak out. Overseeing the FDA, the NIH, the CDC, and Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, agencies that are charged with protecting the most vulnerable among us, is an enormous responsibility and one that Bobby is unqualified to fill. He lacks any relevant government, financial, management, or medical experience. His views on vaccines are dangerous and willfully misinformed. These facts alone should be disqualifying. But he has personal qualities related to this job, which for me pose even greater concern. I've known Bobby my whole life. We grew up together. It's no surprise that he keeps birds of prey as pets, because Bobby himself is a predator.
All right. If you're older, or if you're into history and into presidencies, Caroline Kennedy is somebody, okay? She just is. And for her to come forward and say this, it makes my blood run cold. That this man could be in charge of our health in this country. This is not a joke. This is not for a bunch of, I don't want to disparage people, but a bunch of ignorant people on TikTok who make comments, nasty comments about Chuck Schumer. I got a lot of that today when I posted Schumer. It's not for you. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what's going on. Healthcare in this country, this is important. And we are in trouble right now. There are things going on. We've got bird flu. We've got other infectious diseases happening right now in this country. No one's even talking about it. And for darn sure, the Trump administration isn't going to do anything about it. Look how they mismanaged the last epidemic. And I'll say this, the whole thing today with we're going to cut these funds and everybody freaking out and all of that, it shows how mean they are, but it also shows how incompetent they are. Can Trump market? Yes. Are Republicans better at communicating messages than Democrats? Yes. But there should be a line that we don't cross on policy. Now, we've crossed it already with Pete Hegseth. Now, health, we can't cross the line again. And we're counting on senators to do something about it. And we'll see. We'll see. But Bobby Kennedy goes before two committees, Wednesday and one on Wednesday, one on Thursday. So we'll be watching. I'll post shorts. If there's a longer, great sound bites, I'll post long sound bites on YouTube. So go there. I'm Gloria Moraga, political woman. A lot going on, almost too much for one person. And yes, I sit here and I look at everything and it's like, what do I talk about tonight? Because there's so much. And it's overwhelming. It is. But it's really important that we just put some of this stuff out there. Please subscribe. Please follow me. Please follow me on TikTok. TikTok's still way up in the air, folks. I'm trying to find another home, but I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to go or what I'm going to do. Please subscribe and please be safe.